all to this another session on UiPath. Till now, whatever we have seen, we have introduced ourselves with this platform and we have seen the working behavior of it. We just had a touch and feel about this platform. And later, we have seen how to install this UiPath and all. So that was our complete, it was, I would say, as complete introduction about this platform, what I did in our previous session. From this session, from today, we're going to be talking about the actual concepts about this UiPath. I'll be starting from the scratch. So I'll be starting up talking about the variables, arguments, and all from the scratch. I'll be talking about. So here and there, if you are not able to get the topic, or if you feel my speed, if you feel the way I'm teaching is a bit faster, please let me know. I will just slow in myself and I will give my best for you guys. Now that is being said, let me start with my actual topics. So this is our agenda for the day, like I would say, as for the week. This week, like today and tomorrow, we'll be talking about this complete topics. We'll be talking about the variables, arguments, arrays, and the control flow. So this is the thing what I have planned for today and tomorrow. We will see how it goes. First, let's talk about the variables. Now, you might have heard, like in your graduation, like in your graduation time or in your school days, you might have, in any of the programming language, you might have heard about this word, something called as a variables. Yes, like that's the same way over here as well. But for you guys to make understand, let me give you one scenario. For example, as soon as you step in to your room, you see so many things are lying on the floor. At one side, you see some of the toys, and on the other side, you see some of the gadgets are lying. And on the other side, you see some of the stationery items are lying. So as soon as you see that, and also your mom says that, please clean up your room. So now your agenda is to clean up. You need to clean up the room. Now you see it's 3 categories of items which is lying on the ground. And you have 3 dedicated category boxes. Like for example, one toys box, and another one gadgets box, and another one like a stationery box. So these are the 3 boxes what you have in your shelf. Now what you have to do is you have to pick it up, each item, and you have to put it up into the appropriate boxes. You have to pick it up the toys and you have to put it up into the toys box. Similarly, the gadgets will go to the gadgets box. Similarly, the stationery items will go to the stationery box. Now, what you're doing, you're taking the items and you're dedicating to the appropriate boxes. This we call this box, this container, we call that as a variable. That is a variable which can hold the data for you. Variable, that is the place where it holds the data for you. Now, in variables, like we have, like we saw as toys, gadgets, and stationery, right? Similar to that, we have data types. What do you mean by data type? It specifies the type of thing what you can store. See, that box, what you have named is of toys. That means it can hold only the toys, not the gadgets, not the stationery. The other box, gadget, it can hold only the gadgets, not the other things. See, it is very much fixed to that type of items only. The toys box can hold only toys. Similarly, we have different types, data types. One is integer, boolean, string, and arrays. So many things we have. So if you have numbers, you have to store only, if you set the data type as integer, you're going to store only the numbers to that variable. If you set the data type as string, you're going to put up only the string into that box, that variable. Similarly, we have different variants of data types, which we will see now. Let me just jump in and let's do some hands-on. Let me open up my studio, and here, let me create a new process. And here, I would say, as today, we're going to be talking about the variables, arguments, and arrays, control flow, and all, right? So let me just give that as a name. Here, let me just state it as variables, arguments, array, and control flow. Everything we're going to be talking up over here. So I'm just giving that as a name. Control flow. Let me just create. And in the previous class, I have showed you guys like how to create this process and all. And also in our previous class, I just gave an intro of the some of the panels which are required for now. So if you have that, it's more sufficient. It's going to take some time to add up some of the required dependencies and all. Okay, let me just shoot your window. Let me open up the main and let me drag the sequence onto my canvas. See, in the activity panel, I have something called a sequence. Let me just double click on it. So this is my area. This area is ready for now. So now what we want to discuss, we wanted to understand about the variable. Let's keep that topic in the mind. And by keeping that topic in the mind, let me take up one scenario. Based on scenario, let's try to build the workflow. At the end of the day, our workflow will be completed, and also we will have a knowledge on the topic what we were discussing. Now, what is the scenario is, as soon as I run the workflow, the bot should ask me a question like stating that, what is your name? As soon as I give my name for that, as soon as I give the name for the bot, what bot should do is, it should take my name and it should say, it should print in the output panel like stating that so-and-so person is from India. I'm based out of India, so it should say as Kantesh is from India. That's what the message it wants to print in the output panel. It's of a simple use case. It should ask me a question. As soon as I give a name, it should print in the output panel like stating that so-and-so name is from India. That's it. This is the use case. Let's see how we can do. For this, here in the activity panel, here, let me just look in for something as input. Let me just type it as input. See here I have an activity. Let me just drag and drop. See here, this is an input dialog box activity. Here you can see input dialog. That is of one activity what you have. That is the one what we have drag and drop over here. This is input dialog box activity. For this, on the screen, you can see some dialog title and label, right? Let me just give as name. And let me give a message as please enter your name. Let me just run and show you what the thing I have done. See, it gave me a pop-up. I said input dialog box. It gives me a pop-up, right? See, this is the pop-up, what I got. And dialog title, I have given us name. So you can see where that is. See, name. And input label, I have given us please enter your name. See, that is the question it is asking. Now, it is asking a question. Now, as a human, what I should do is I need to just type in my name and hit OK. That's it. This is the working behavior of this input dialog activity. And another thing, guys, whatever the activities you are using in UiPath Studio, even though it comes within its own naming convention like sequence, input dialog, and all, but it's always a best practice that you need to rename your activities. For this, let me just say rename. For this activity, I have selected it. I have an option, and here I have an option to rename. See here, let me click on that. So rather than sequence, let me just type as Let me just type as variables. Since we are doing that variable, right? Variable automation, let me give that variable automation. So it's always preferred that you rename your activities. I will talk about it, why we call this as a best practice. I will talk about it. But for now, just start listing out some of the best practices in your notes. First best practice, you should give the appropriate name while creating a process, and you should give the description. If you remember, like previously I have highlighted in my previous class. Those are the two best practices. With that, you need to always rename your activities, which I have showcased you how to do that. For variable automation, I did. Similarly, for input dialog box as well, I need to rename. You can click on this and you can hit rename, or else you can directly hit F2 key. See here, F2, shortcut key to rename. See, F2. I can just select this activity and hit F2. Now it is selected. I can remove that and I can give the appropriate name based on the thing what I want. I would say as name pop-up. See, this is the way how you can rename this of the best practices. And now you got what does this activity does, and what this value, what I have given, you saw where it is reflecting in the pop-up. Now let me talk about in detail about this activity. See here, for this, if you select this activity, here you have a property panel. Let me click on that. See here, these are the properties which are dedicated to this activity. See, first is display name. Right now we have rename, right? Name pop-up. If you, in the properties also, you can change it. You can remove that completely and you can add something. So that is here display name. What does it say? Next, in the input section, is password. See here, it's of a check mark. Let me enable it and let me run this workflow. Just see what happens. It gave me a pop-up. Let me type in my name. See here. Previously, you saw when I was typing character as K-A-N, Kantish, when I am trying to type in, you were able to see that characters, but now it is single dot. Why? It is treating the characters what human is entering as a like a password kind of a thing. If you remember, for example, let me give you a scenario. Suppose let's assume you and your friend are sitting in front of the laptop and you want to log in into your social media account. If you want to log in into your social media account, then what are all the prerequisites? The username and password. Now, when it's asking the username, you're going to type the username so and so. So as soon as you type the username, the friend who is sitting next to you, he can see it. He can see the username, what you're typing. But when you're trying to enter the password, does he can see it? No. Why? It will be masked. Why? Because it's of a sensitive data. It should be masked. Whatever the character you type, it will be as a single dot, so that the other person cannot steal your password. This is the way how the masking will happen. Like the same way it is implemented. If you want to consider the human, the value what he's giving as a password, if you want to consider as a password, then enable it. If you don't want to consider that as a password, disable it. That is the one property what you have. It's of a straightforward thing. You can explore it. Next, label. Here we have given right input label. Please enter your name. Here, if we give, it will be reflected over here as well. See here, that's the same thing it's reflecting. Now, next you have something as an options. Let me give some options. Let me first put up the value. I would say as robot. Let me just, yeah, let me run and showcase you guys. See here, previously, yes, it was asking a question, but it was giving us a text box to enter. But now I'm getting a radio button to select it. Here I don't have an option to enter, but I have a radio button to select. If you want this kind of a pop-up, you can give it, you can use it by using a property called options. See here, this is the way how you should give and multiple option enclosed in flower brackets. This is of one value, this is of another value, and this is of another value. And in UiPath, whatever the value, string value we give, I'm stating string. String means characters. If you are specifying the characters, then it should be enclosed in double quotes. See here, Kantesh is enclosed in double quotes. UiPath is enclosed in double quotes. Robot enclosed in double quotes. I have multiple values, right? So to specify everything as one, so that's the reason we are giving in flower bracket. This we call as an array, which I have a dedicated topic I will discuss in the session itself a bit later. But now just keep in your mind that this is of an array value what you have to pass to get an options. Another thing, strings, here it should be given in double quotes, string values. So that's the reason you can see name is in double quotes, input label is in double quotes. So that is the options what you have. Next, options string. Now let me remove this. Here, let me just type in as Kantesh, and I will talk about this option string. I will just keep this out on hold. I will talk about this option string, but just remember option string, I have kept it on hold. Next, title name. Here we have given as title name, right? So that's the thing it is reflecting over here. So this is all about an input. Next, miscellaneous. In that we have one option called private. So what is this? Private means if I enable it, just see here, private name pop-up. If I disable it, see here, enable, disable. What is happening? See, in UiPath, each and every activity what the bot execute, everything will be logged in the log folder. How to access the log folder? Hit Control L, L for lion, Control L. If you open the studio, if you hit Control L, it will open up the UiPath logs. See here, each and everything, whatever the bot is doing, everything is logged over here. Each and every activity, what the bot is performing, everything will be logged in the log folders. Sometimes business say that, that means IT people, they will say that, I don't want this activity to be logged. Why? Because logs are the one is being used by multiple people. Many people will be consuming that logs. They should not be knowing that this activity will entering the password. This activity is handling some sensitive information. They should not know that by seeing the logs. They want this activity to be somewhat masked from the logs. If that's the case, then enable it. If not, disable it. It's of a check mark. You can see for all of the activities in UiPath as a private. So as I said, like if you enable it, this activity will not be logged. If you disable it, then this activity will be logged in your log folder. That is the private thing. Now, so this is the thing, like the bot, this is what all over the properties what we have. And if you have observed till now, we were running this workflow and we were getting a pop-up. We are giving some inputs like Kantesh, UiPath, robot, some other thing, we are giving a string. If we are giving a string, where exactly it is storing? Does my bot is storing somewhere this data? If I want the data, can I use it? Where exactly this data is stored? See, right now the bot, we haven't designed this workflow in such a way that the data what human is giving, it is not stored anywhere. For the bot to store this data, we should give some container. For example, let me give you one example. Suppose you and your friend has around 100 chocolates in his jar. In his jar, he has. Now, he wants to give the complete chocolates to you, but without the jar, because he wants his jar to take to his home. So he cannot give that jar to you, but he can give that complete 100 chocolate. If you want to carry that 100 chocolate, even you should be having some container, right? Similarly, human has so many data in his mind. When he's giving some data to the bot should also have something right to store it. So that kind of a container we have to create it. That we call as a variables. We have to create that kind of a containers. Now let's create a container. We have three ways of creating a container. One is, see, this is the workflow, and here below you can see as some variables. Just click on that. Just select this workflow. If you have selected, if you hit this variable, here you have something called as an create variables option. Just click on that create variables. Now it's asking the name. It's asking the name. Let me give as where I'm creating the variable. See, this we call as a variable panel. So I would give the name of that container as variable panel. See, as soon as I give the name, so this is falls under name column. Variable type. See here, this is the data type. I was talking about toys, gadgets, and stationery, right? So that is the data type in your lifestyle. But this is the data type for the bot. Whether the bot is storing string data in this container, integer data in this container, or Boolean data in this container. That's the question is. Now, for now, let me just select as string itself. We have a lot of varieties of data types, which we will understand as we move on with this course. See here, apart from that, here I can browse for the type. If I browse, see here, we have n number of data types, which we will see as we move on. Don't worry about that. For now, I have selected as a string. Next, scope. Even this, I will keep this on hold. So two things I have kept it on hold. In this name pop-up here, the property option string, I have kept it on hold. And here the scope, I have kept it on hold. I will talk about those two. Next, default section. By default, this container should hold some value. For example, Kantish, some value it has to hold. See, I have given in double quotes. Why? Because it's of a type string. If you want that some default value, if you want it has to store, then you can specify it in this way. If you don't want, you can remove it. This is the way how you create a container from the variable panel. And these are the sections what it has for variables: name section, variable type section, scope section, default section. Now we have understood about the name, variable type, and the default section. So this is the one way of creating variable. Now let me show you the other way. So we have created a variable from the variable panel. Now let's create a variable from the designer panel. See, this is the designer, the area what you're seeing, the activity where I have. This we call as a designer panel. Let me create one variable over here. Let me click and let me hit a shortcut key, Control K, K for kingdom, Control K, K for kingdom. So here set var, it is asking me the variable name. Let me just type it as, since where I'm creating variable from the designer panel. Let me state it as designer panel. See, variable is created. If you see in the variable panel, see here, designer panel container is created with a variable type as string and the default as empty. If you want to change the data type, you have to open up the variable panel and then only you have to change it. You don't have any other option. Over here itself, if you want to change, it is not possible from the designer panel. For changing the data type of that container, you have to open up the variable panel and there itself, you have to change it. So this is the second way of creating a variable. It's from the designer panel. Now, let me show you the other way. See, this is the properties, right? See, this is a properties. Now, from here, we can create a variable as well. From property panel as well, we can create a variable. Let me create one variable. For this also same shortcut key, Control K, K for kingdom, Control K. And here it's asking me the variable name. Let me just give the variable name as property panel. Let me hit enter. And if I see the variables, see here, property panel, it's available now. Let me hit dock. Let me hide. Yeah, see, property panel, it's available. These are the three ways of creating variables. One is through a variable panel, designer panel, and the property panel. These are the three ways of creating variables. So right now we got a concept of creating a container. Now, let's jump back to our use case. What was our use case? The bot will ask us a question, like please enter our name. As soon as it asks us a question, then it should ask like as soon as we give some input for the bot should take the data and it has to store in one container. Now we have to create that container. We have seen the three ways of creating container. Let's choose any one and let's create one container now. So for this activity name pop-up, here is my properties and the result. See here, these are the inputs, output, result. This is the place where it will generate an output. It will push out some data. So here, let me create one container from the property panel itself. How to create a container? Control K, K for kingdom. So here, let me give the name of the variable. So I would say as str underscore name. See, what did I do? In the variable panel, if you see, I have created one container with a naming convention. Just see, how did I give the naming convention? String underscore name. See, what's the data type of this? String. So I have given string underscore name. This name, the last part, whatever runs in my mind, I can give the name or some name pop-up, some name result. I can give whatever the thing. But first part, I'm giving the data type. Why I'm giving data type is, see, even this is often another best practice. You can take a note of it. It's of the 4 best practices, what you have to follow. Now, you might be wondering here and there, I am keep on specifying these are the best practices and all. See, here, the variable is also a best practice, as I said. Why? What exactly this best practices is? See, in UiPath, these are not at all a rules which you need to follow. It is not at all a rules. We don't call this as a rules. See, there are some other applications in the market. Over there are some prerequisites. There are some rules which they call as a best practice. But in UiPath, we are not calling rules as a best practice. Best practices are the ones which will help you in designing the workflow. We call that as in best practices. For example, see here, I have given first the data type, string underscore, whatever the name I have given it. So it's done. Now, suppose in the future, you'll be building big process. Right now we have around hardly 4 variables, not more than that. But in the future, when you're designing the workflow, there you'll be encountering with 50, 60 or 100 different types of variables. Now, if you have 100 different types of variables, then here, if you want to give some string, you have to use some string value variable. Then what you have to do? You have to open up the variables and you have to look in the string thing and you have to see the name and later you have to give it. That is the thing what you're going to do if you haven't followed the best practice. If You would have followed the best practice. Then what you want to do, what you're going to do, see here, click on this, hit str. You're going to get all the string related variable suggestions over here. In that, whichever you want, you can directly choose. Why you're going to choose over here itself? Because you are guaranteed that this is of a string type. Why? Because the naming convention itself says that string. So it is obviously the data type is string, so that it reduces your development time. It fast track your building the workflow. See, this we call as a best practice, which will help you in building the workflow. So that's the reason I'm calling this as a best practice, and I'm guiding you guys to follow this. See here, string underscore name, because I want to pass some string value. Why? Because human is also giving some string value. So that one, it should store in the string container. So that's the reason I have given as string underscore name. Right now, the bot will give me a pop-up. As soon as I give some input, the bot will store that value in a variable called string underscore name. Okay, after that, what next? Next is the bot should print that value is from India. That is what the message it has to print in the output panel. Let me do that. See here, I have a write line activity. If you're not able to see in the favorite, it will be usually in the favorites. If you're not able to see, then type in for write line. This is the write line activity which will help you to print the message in the output panel. See, where is my output panel? See here below variables, I have output, right? See here, this is my output panel. Here I'm asking the bot to enter the message what I want. Here, first let me put up the message. Let me say as string underscore name, and I would say is from India. See here, what did I give? String underscore name. This is of a variable which is holding the human. He's going to give some value, right? In this name pop-up. In that, the output, the human input will be stored in this variable string underscore name. So string underscore name, I'm doing a plus. See, plus, and I'm giving another string. This is a static string. In the double quotes, if we give any value, that we call as a static string. See, is from India. This is a dynamic. This is static. Why I'm calling this as a static and this is dynamic? See, this place can change every time. If I give Kantish, it's gonna type in as Kantish is from India. If I just type as Raj, so it would say Raj is from India. If I type as Arpit, so it would type it as Arpit is from India. Similarly, if I give any other name, it's going to type that name is from India. So this is changing every time. This part is changing every time, but this remains the same. This is static data is from India. That is static. So that's the reason I'm calling this as a static, this as a dynamic. Now, you have seen I'm giving a plus operator. What does it do? See here, this is of a one string value, right? It can be a Kantish, UiPath, robot, whatever the name. This is of one value, one string value. And this is another string value, right? Two are different string value. Even though both are string, but it is of a different values. One is storing in one container and another one, we have directly given it. Now what we are doing, we are joining the two different data to one. Why? Because that is what my use case says. It should give me an output like stating that so and so person is from India. So this will be the so and so person, and I'm joining a static string that is from India. So that's the reason I'm giving a plus operator. When you have a string data means characters A to Z. When you have a string data, then if you use a plus operator, then you're going to do concatenation. That means it would type as this. Let's assume string name is holding Kantish is from India. It's going to type as this. When you give a plus operator for the two strings, if you give a plus operator for two numbers, I would say like 2 plus 4, the result will be 6. When it is number, it is adding up the things. When it is string, it is joining the two strings to one. That's the way how it's gonna work. Now let me hit save and let me run this workflow and check it out. The workflow has started. See here, it's asking me a name. Please enter your name. And if you observe, see, Kantish is already written. Why? Let me see the properties of this input dialog box. See here, in the option string, I have given as Kantish. That's the reason it is not asking me to enter it. It is already typed. If I want to change it, rather than Kantish, I want to type it as UiPath. I can do it. If I want to change from UiPath to something else, I can do it still. But whenever the bot opens up the pop-up, by default, I'll be seeing the name as Kantish. Why? Because in the option string, I have given as Kantish. If you give anything, then that will be reflected over here. Now you got it. What is this properties doing? Option string. Now let me just hit OK. See, the workflow is done. If I see my output panel, see here, Kantish is from India. This is the output, what it is returning. So this is the way how you can store the data and you can retrieve the data and print it in the output panel. So any questions, guys, over here till now?
No questions still.
Okay. So this is the way how you can store and access the data. Now, let me just extend this workflow a bit more. Let me extend this. For that, let me just drag one sequence onto this canvas. If you remember, this is of a sequence, what we have dragged. So that same sequence I'm dragging in. And let me drag and assign activity. And here, let me create one variable from the designer panel by hitting the Control K. And let me give as country. And here the value, let me give as India. Now, what I'm trying to do is, I want to replace the static data with the dynamic data. See, string name, it will be the name from the human. Is from is of a static. And next, country. The country, the India, it will be. So if I change it over here, that data will be changing. So let's assume this is open dynamic data, which I'm passing in. Okay, this is the thing, what it wants. Now, if I run this workflow, then it should give me as Kantish is from, again, India itself. It should give me as an output. But if you see, I'm just getting some error. Let me see what it is. It says as error BC30451, country is not declared. It might be inaccessible due to the protection level. But the thing is, I have just now created a country variable. See here, string type country variable. That's the same thing I have given. Then why it is throwing an error? Any idea why it is throwing an error?
In variable panel, you have written C capital, and in the sequence, you have written in small letter.
Okay, let me change that. Let me change it to one capital C. No, it's still the same.
No, it's still showing error.
Yeah. It also states that country is not declared, but I can see the country has been declared in variable panel. Why it is throwing an error? That too for only this activity, not for the rest. Why? Because see here, right now in the variable panel, you can see country variable. If I click on this activity, see here, right line. If I click, where is my country variable? If I click this assign, I can see country. If I click right line, it is not there. If I click here, it is available. If I click here, it is not available. Why? Why is that? Why? Because see here, this country, it is available only within this container. This sequence is of a one block. Within this block, this country is available. This variable is available. Beyond this, outside this box, it is not available. Outside this box, this country variable is not available. See here, if I just drag and drop this activity here inside this sequence, see, I don't have error. Why? Because country is available within this box. If the same thing, if I just drag and drop outside, see, it is not available. It will throw an error. Now, you understood the problem. Now, what is the solution for it? Solution is just click on this activity in the variable panel. Here, country you have now. See here, scope. Right now, the country variable, it's only available within the sequence, not beyond it. If you want this variable to be visible outside the sequence, see, outside. This is the sequence, right? Outside the sequence, variable automation. If you want that variable to be visible in the variable automation block, then choose it. See here, as soon as you choose that, you don't have an error. That is what the scope defines. The scope defines till where this workflow will be visible, till which container, till which block this sequence will be, this variable will be available. That defines the scope. Did you guys get it? What does this scope means?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So if you remember, I have kept two things on hold while explaining. One is option string, which you got it, and another thing as a scope, even that you got it. So this is what all about and this variables. Now, if you remember, I said and best practice that renaming the activity is of a best practices which you want to follow. Now, let me give the justification for that as well. Why did I say that? And also I said that so I have just like gave my statement like stating that we will not call rules as a best practice. We will the things which will helps the developer to build the workflow, we call that as a best practice, right? So let me give justification for renaming the activities. Now, suppose we haven't renamed our sequence. Now, again, let's assume this is available on the sequence. We are getting an error. Now we want to extend this to the outer workflow. If that's the case, then in the variable panel, we identify the country. Now we want to change the scope. If you want to change the scope, you see both as sequence. Okay, which is which? Whether this sequence is this or this sequence is that, or this sequence is this or this sequence is that. I don't understand. See, in this case, you will spend some time to identifying. First, you will just identify this and you will see whether your error is gone. If it is not gone, then you will get some confirmation that, okay, that is not the thing. I want to choose the other one. Then if error goes, okay, that is the one. See here, you're spending unnecessary time over here. So that's the reason I said it's always a best practice that you rename your activity. See, if I would have renamed the activity as this, not only this, whatever the thing, based on your understanding, if you have renamed it, see, for the country, if it was within the sequence, Now, if you want to change it to the outer container, just hit the drop down, and you have, because you have given the name for the activity. So for that box, it should be available means you would have selected that directly. See, the error is gone now. See, that's the reason I said renaming of the activity is often best practice. So yeah, that's the thing. Another thing what I just wanted to highlight on this. Yeah, this is what all about 10 variables. Any questions, guys, over here on the variables? Anything to be clarified or anything to be explained again? Did you guys get it?
No, don't think so.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. And guys, another thing, like when I'm explaining some topics, so please do watch this session only. Don't parallelly do that in your studio. Why I'm saying that is, see, if you are parallel doing with me, suppose here in this activity, I might be explaining something. When you try to implement the same thing over there, by the time I might have explained some other one feature, so which you will miss it and you will not be able to build it later. So that's the reason what I recommend is this session, the 2 hours of session, what we have planned, just see and understand the flow, how I'm doing and what is the procedure. Just try to understand the concept. That is most efficient. Anyways, you're going to get this recording. It will be in your drive. You can download it and you can view it. So yeah, first time you will be just seeing this session. So you're getting the concept. Second time, you will be downloading that recorded session and you will be practicing it. So second time the revision is done. And the third time, you will get an assignments from me. So you will practice on that assignments on this topic. So three times revision on the same topic will make you strong on that particular topics what you're practicing. So this 3 times revision will happen. So that's the reason I recommend to follow this as a pattern so that you will be very much stronger with the topics what we are planning. So whatever I'm explaining, just see it and just try to understand it. Here, I would not recommend, like I would not expect that you should get 100% what I'm explaining. What I'm explaining, if you get at least 50 to 60%, even less than that, it is more sufficient. Anyways, you're going to get the recording. When you practice it, you will understand the concept. If you're stuck at that point, then you will ask me a question, you will get clarified. So you will progress that understanding the topics in a greater level as you practice and as you move on. So, but now just see and try to understand. That is more sufficient now. So please don't do parallel with me so that you might miss some of the concepts. Yeah, this is all about an variable automation, what I just wanted to highlight. And this is the way how you create a container. And this is the way how you can store and retrieve the data. Now we understood about the variables. And here I just forgot to highlight one thing. If you remember, like what I said, previously the country variable was available only till this container. See here, only within this container it was available. So what we did, we have changed that country thing to an variable automation. Variable automation means till this container we made that as a visible. So that means that country variable I can use it over here, or I can use it over here. Anywhere I can use it within this. Now suppose, why it is troubling. Now suppose if I want this variable to be used outside this. See, for example, right now this is of a main workflow. If I have another workflow, if I want to use this variable and I want to feed it over here, then what is the option I have? I want to use this data like right now, what I'm trying to highlight over here is that variable has some restriction. It can be available till the outermost container. See, this is the outermost container. Till here, the variable can be visible. The country variable can be visible till this point. But beyond this, from this workflow to the another workflow, if I want that variable to be visible, this variable will not suffice. I cannot use this variable. This is of one of the greatest use case what we have in the business. Like, for example, in the business environment, you will not be the only developer. You'll be having a team of developers. Let's assume we have 4 developers. Now, developer 1 will build some small workflow. Developer 2 will build another small, 3, 4, and all. Now, if you want to integrate, see, workflow 1 should give an output to workflow 2. See, from this workflow to the another workflow, you want to feed in the data. If that's the case, then you cannot use variables. Why? Because it has a restriction. This is the maximum level where that variable can be visible. I cannot pass beyond this. If that's the case, then what should I do? We have an option.
It's the scope.
See, scope is the, like, that is the last point. See here, main sequence. This is the main. Within this, I can use it. Beyond this, I cannot. See, suppose if I create a new sequence, if I want to pass data from this workflow to this, do I have an option to change that to a different sequence? See, rather than main sequence or just as sequence, I have an option. No. This scope can be visible only within this workflow, not beyond this. From this workflow to this workflow, I cannot use it, this variables. I can use that variable only within this, inside this. See here, this is the outermost container. Within this, I can use it. Beyond this, no, I cannot use it. This is the drawback what we have under variables. Now we will see another option to overcome from this drawback. Before that, let me just delete this sequence. Yes, we have a solution for it, and that we call that as an arguments. See, variables and arguments, I would say as both are one and the same. See, variables is also a container. Arguments is also a container. Variable will hold some data. Even arguments will hold the data. It can hold as sorry. This variable can hold and dedicated data type data, that is string, integer. Even arguments does the same thing. See, both variables and arguments, both are one and the same. But the only difference is variables can be used within the workflow. See, inside workflow, I can use it. Whereas arguments between workflow, I can use it between workflows, I can use that. That's the only difference what I have under between variables and arguments. Now let's work on that. So that's what I'm just stating. Arguments are used to pass data between parent and child workflow. That is, between the workflow, I can exchange the data. So now let's do some hands-on on this. For this, let me create a new sequence. See here, new sequence. Here, let me give the name as arguments. See, arguments. And let me just hit create. See here, new workflow is created. Now, this is the workflow what I had previously built. And this is the new workflow what I have created now. So here now it's asking to create a drop an activity here. Let me just drop an sequence over here. And let me rename as arguments. Next. Okay, so to understand this concept, again, let me take up one use case. Now, what my bot should do is the same thing. It should ask me a question like, what is your name? As soon as I give the name, it should say as Katish is an RPA developer. There is a message what it has to give. Simple thing. If I ask you guys to build this, then you just do it in a fraction of a second by using an like a input dialog box activity and write line activity, and you're gonna configure the things, and that's it. Here is the workflow. It is ready. You're gonna give me present the output. It's simple. But now I don't want to redo it. See that input dialog box again, dragging and dropping and configuring the things and all. What I want is here, I want to optimize the workflow. I need to build a workflow in such a way that without using many activities, I need to build this workflow. That means, see here, input dialog box asking a question, it's already available here. See here, here it's already available. Now, this workflow, anyways, it's asking the name and it is printing the message as he's from India. But what I want is here in this workflow, rather than it says as he's from India, it should say as he's an RPA developer. So what is the here? But the use cases, Kantesh is from India, but here Kantesh is an RPA developer. What's the difference? The static data here is from India is here is an RPA developer, but the first part remains the same. See here, first part Kantesh remains the same. How my bot is getting Kantesh? By using input dialog box. So what I would ask the bot is, hey bot, anyways, this workflow is getting the name from the human. Take that name rather than you are building again new activities. Take that name from this workflow. Take that name from this workflow to this workflow and give me a message as Kantish is an RPA developer. I don't want you to ask again a question like human is already answering his name over here in this workflow. Take that data itself over here and print me a message. That is what my use case is. Use case is simple, and this is what my approach is. Rather than using an input dialog box and again printing, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the data from the main to the argument, and I'm going to ask my bot to print that data in the output panel. This is my use case. See, whenever you're working on arguments, just follow this 4 simple steps. This four simple steps, it really helps you to understand these arguments in better way. The first step is create a new workflow to which you want to get the data. See, create a new workflow to which you want to get the data, which we already did. See, we have created a new sequence, and this is the place where I want to get the data. That is the first step. We already did it. Second step is go back to the workflow from which you want to get the data. Second step is go back to the workflow from which you want to get the data. See, from main, I want to get the data, right? So let me go to that. And here, create an argument. Here, create an argument. See here, next to variables, you have arguments. Let me click on that. See here, create argument. Let me click on that. And here it asks for the name. I would say as name argument. I'm just giving some random name. Now, see here, the argument is created. See here, even here for the argument, we can choose the type, same as variables, Boolean, integer, string, object, and I can browse for the types. I have all the options. See here, default value also I can give. Now let me quickly compare between the variables and the argument. See, variable has name column, argument has name column, variable has variable type, argument has argument type, variable has default section, argument has default section, variable has scope, Argument has direction. See, this is often another difference what I have between the argument and the variables. Variables has scope. Argument has direction to which the data will be flowing. Here, the argument direction decides to which the data will be flowing, how the data will be flowing. See, if you want to push data from this to this, you are pushing out a data from this to this, then the direction will be out. See, you're pushing the data from main to the argument. If you're taking data from argument to the main, if the data is flowing inside workflow, so that will be in. Sometimes it might be bidirectional, in, out. The data will be flowing in as well as the out. So in that case, in, out. Last but not the least is property. What does it do? If I choose this as an option, then this activity will be in a disabled state. Let me repeat it. If I choose the direction as property, then it will be in a disabled state. What do you mean by disabled state? For this, let me give one scenario. Suppose you're working in, like in the future, you'll be working in MNC companies. In the MNC company, you will be working as an RPA developer. There, your manager asks you to build some workflow. You have successfully built it. And suppose let's assume you have created an arguments. Let's say around 5 arguments you have created. Now, when you present that workflow to your manager, he says that, hey, why did you create 5 arguments? Right now, this 3 arguments is not necessary. You can delete that. He gives that as an instruction to you. So what you're going to do is, but you understand that is those arguments are required. Now it is not required, but in the future it might be required. So rather than you deleting this argument, see, if you delete it, it is gone. Rather than deleting this argument, what you're going to do is you're going to set it as a property. That means this argument is there, but it is in disabled state. Now your manager said that delete, but you're sure that in the future he's gonna come back and he's gonna ask us to create an argument again. See, over there, after some time, rather than spending our time again creating the argument and modifying the workflow, what we can do is, rather than deleting, let's keep that as in the disabled state. In the future, if he asks us to create some more arguments, then come over here and just enable it, whether in, out or in, out. That's it. See, here, the development effort has been reduced. If you would have deleted, then you need to create it. And you need to create again. And you need to use that argument here so that it will be holding some data and all. If you would have disabled it, anyways, that arguments is already used in the workflow. So the development time will be very, very less. So that is the reason you have an option as property to disable that argument rather than deleting. So when there is no use of that argument, we always recommend to disable it. Why? Because in the future, you might use it again. So that's the reason. Don't delete it. Keep that as in the disabled state. Right now, what is our use case? We want to push the data from main to the arguments. So that's the reason the direction is out, pushing out the data from main to the arguments. So out, argument type, string, default type. That's right now, let's not give anything. Let me just minimize it. See, this is the second step. First step is we want to create a new workflow to which you want to get the data. This is the workflow. This is the thing we want to get the data. Second step is we want to go back to the workflow from where we want to get the data and create an argument over here, which we did. That is our second step. Third step is make use of that argument in the current workflow. See here, make use of that argument in the current workflow. See, right now we have created empty container. If I run this workflow, see, if I run this workflow, at the end of the workflow, this argument, this is also a container, right? It will not hold any value. See, if I run this, it's gonna ask me the name, and the country will be holding the India, and string name will be holding the name, and it will end. But at the end of the workflow, we should make sure that this argument is holding one or the other value so that we can pass the data as an out. See here, this container I haven't used anywhere in this workflow. That means at the end of the workflow, it will not be holding any value at all. It will not be holding any value. So that's the reason. Third step, I'm stating that make use of that argument in this current workflow so that it will hold some or the other value. For this, let me use one assign activity. And here I would say as that argument name argument. See here, name argument is equal to string name. See, this is the data, right? What I wanted, the data, what that human he gonna be giving, that thing, that data I want to be passing as from this to this. So that's the reason, and I'm just copying the data to this argument. And always, and another best practice is that whenever you are giving a name for your argument, first you should give that direction. So here, in my case, direction is out underscore. Argument type is what? String str underscore name argument. See here, if you change the name of the variable or the arguments in the argument panel or a designer or in the variable panel, it will be reflected in your workflow. See here, I have changed it over here, and here, see here, even here it has changed automatically. So there is no need to go to the all the places and change it again. So at any point of a time, you can change it through an panels. If you change it through an panels, it will be reflected in the entire workflow. So this is the third step. Make use of that argument in the current workflow, which we did. Next, fourth step is go back to the workflow. But before going back to that workflow, the third step itself, you have made use of that argument. And after you made use of that argument, save it. Save the workflow. See here, any workflow, this is my workflow. Main is a workflow. For all the workflow, if you see a star symbol at the head, at the top of its head, that means this current workflow is not yet saved. You have to save it. So here we have a save button. You can hit that. See, as soon as you hit save, that star thing has gone. So third step is make use of that argument in this current workflow and make use of our argument in the current workflow and save it. That's the thing what we did. Next, fourth step is, last but not the least, is go back to the workflow to which you want to get the data. Here, drag and drop that workflow. See here, from main, I want the data, right? See, just drag and drop. From where did I get this? See, from project. Previously, activities I was getting over here. But now what I want, that workflow itself. So what I did, from the project, I have located the main. I have just dragged and dropped over here. Through an activity panel also, you can do it. We have something called as an invoke workflow. This is our regular method, what we'll be doing. See, invoke workflow. And here we'll be locating. We are going to hit the folder thing, main.xaml. We're going to locate it. And then it will be that workflow. See here, same thing. Looking in the activities and locating that XAML. See, 2 steps. But this, hitting the project, directly dragging and dropping. Both the things are one and the same. You can see both the activities are one and the same. You can use the first way or the second way. Both are one and the same. Based on your convenience, you can use it. For now, let me delete one. Now, what I did, I have just drag and drop that workflow. Now, here it has some orange indicator. See here, import arguments. If you hit that, see here, someone is ready to give you some data. See, someone is ready to give you some data. See, what you can think is, this is as one state and this is of another state. Between this, you have a border. Let's assume you have a bridge which separates these two states, and between that you have a bridge. If anything wants to pass from this to this or from this to this, it should happen between the bridge itself, between bridge. So from main, one guy will come to the half of the bridge, and from arguments, another guy will come till the half of the bridge. They're gonna exchange the data and they will go back. Who is that, guys? Arguments. Arguments are the guys who gonna come over the bridge to exchange the data. From main, one argument guy. See, this is the guy who gonna be giving you the data. So he's of an argument guy. He will come. And here, from this current workflow, another guy will come from the arguments itself, and he's gonna take the data and he's gonna come over here. Now here, let me create one argument. In the arguments, like let me create as I would say as direction as in underscore string underscore name name and argument workflow. See here, if you hit this import arguments, out string name argument is ready to give you some data. And from this workflow also, I should send one guy, right, to take the data from half of the bridge to this workflow. So just now I have created that guy argument. Let me give that in string name argument. If I hit OK, then see here, I don't have any error. That means this guy will give this guy a data, and that data will be flowed in this workflow. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a write line activity, and I'm going to print in underscore string is an RPA developer. See, okay, rather than write line, let me just delete this and let me use a message box activity, because I don't want to reuse the same activities again and again, because I just want to project you to as many as the activities we have. So write line, you understood, it's going to print it in the output panel. Now let's talk about the message box as well, how it's going to be. Let me put up that same message. See here, in underscore string name argument workflow is an RPA developer. I have given this. Now let me just see star symbol I have. Let me hit save and let me run the workflow. The workflow has started. See, it's asking me the name. It's already there. Let me hit OK. See, I got an pop-up like stating that Kantesh is an RPA developer. See, message box. This is the way how it's gonna give me. Message box, it's gonna give me a pop-up, whereas write line, it's gonna enter the same message in the output panel. But whereas message box, it's gonna print it in the pop-up. As you can see, Kantesh is an RPA developer. If I hit OK, the workflow will be ended. So that means, if you remember, like the data is passing from this main workflow to the argument, and the data is printing over here, and is an RPA developer, it is passing. So this is the way how the arguments is working. Now, let me explain in detail about it. Let me show you how exactly the bot is working. For that, here I have a debug tab, right? Let me hit the debug. And here I have something called a step into, right? Just click on that step into. See, right now the bot is in the execution mode. See, this is my output panel. This is my output panel. Here, this is my local panel. Now, the bot have started the workflow. If I hit step in, see, the bot is executing activity by activity. First, the bot is looking at this sequence. If I use step in, see, it is going to the next activity. But prior I hit step in, see here, in this workflow, I have used an argument, right? Which is in string name in argument workflow. What value it is holding? It is holding null value. That means it is not holding any value at all till now. It is holding null value. If I use step in again, just see what happens. See, step in. What happened? The bot have moved to the main workflow. Let me show you that again. Let me stop this. Let me close this. Right now, I have only argument. If I use step in, the workflow has started. Step in, again step in. Right now, that argument is holding null value. That means it is not holding any value. See, as soon as I hit step in, what happens? See, step in. It opened up main workflow and it is trying to execute it. See, if it executes the main workflow, then only it's gonna get the data. If it executes the main workflow, it executes the input dialog box, then only it's gonna get the data from the human. If not, how it can pass the data from main to argument? So that's the reason. First, it is executing the main workflow. If I hit step in, see, variable automation, step in, next name pop-up. Right now, if I want to show you in this as well, see, even we have created multiple arguments, right? Arguments variables. See here, string name. Right now it is holding null. That means we are asking, as soon as the bot executes this, whatever the human give a value, that value should be stored in this variable, right? String name. Right now it is null. Let me hit step in and see what happens. Step in. See, I got a pop-up. If I hit OK, see here, it completed that activity. Let me see that variable. See, string name, it's holding the value as Kantish. See, it's holding Kantish because that's the value what human have given. So Kantish is stored. Next activity is sequence. So country, what is my country is holding? Null value. Let me see what happens. Step in. Again, step in. Country is holding India. If I hit step in, see, next activity, assign. See, out argument. See, this is of an argument, right? Argument, out string, name argument. Right now, it is holding null. But now what happens? It will copy the value from string name. What is the string name? See, string name is Kantish. It will copy this value to this argument so that this guy, he gonna pass the value to the another workflow. So I'm just copying that over here. If I use step in, see here, now this argument is also holding Kantish. So that means it is ready to pass the data from this workflow to the other workflow because this argument is holding the value. Now, if I hit step in, right line activity, it should print in the output panel, Kantish is from India. If I use step in, see here, Kantish is from India. That means this workflow is been completed. Now it is ready to pass the data from this to this. Just see, as soon as I hit step in, what happens? Right now, this guy is holding the value out, string is out, argument is holding a value. If I use step in, see, it went back to the argument workflow. And here I had one argument, right? In string name argument workflow. See here, what value it is holding? Kantish. That means the data has flowed from this to this. By using an argument, I have passed the data. Now that means the main workflow has been completed. If I use step in, the next activity is message box. The message box, what is the message? In string name. What is that? Kantish. Kantish is an RPA developer. If I use step in, see here, I got an pop-up like stating that Kantish is an RPA developer. If I hit OK, see, it is ready to end the workflow because this is the last activity. Step in, the workflow got ended. That's it. This is the way how the data is flowing from main to the argument. Did you guys get it? Any questions or anything to be explained again?
No.
Okay. So this is the way, guys, how you can pass the data from one workflow to the another workflow. And another thing I just wanted to highlight over here in the invoke workflow. Let me, rather than this argument, let me just create one variable. I would say as testing var. And here in the import arguments, anyways, this guy is coming half the way to give the data, right? So rather than me sending the argument to get the data, let me send the variable to get the data. Testing var. If I hit OK and if I run this workflow, will I get an output or not? What will be your answer? Will I get an output or not?
Sorry, I didn't get your question again.
See, previously I was using an argument over here. This open argument which is passing the data. Now here also to receive the data, I was using an argument itself. But now what I did, I have replaced at the receiving end from argument to variable. If I ask the bot to run this, will I get an output as Kantesh is an RPA developer or not?
Maybe no, because document is working like that. It's taking value.
See, as I said, this guy will be coming and giving you some value. For example, let's see, you are residing in one house and your friend is residing in another house. Now, if he wants to give some snacks item to you, so he will come near the fence of the house, which separates between your house and his house, and he gonna give that snacks to you, and you're gonna take it to your home. Now, if your friend will come near the fence and if he's giving you an 100 chocolates, which is having in the container, in his container. Now he cannot give this that container and the chocolates. He can give only the chocolates, but not the container. So you should be also having a container to hold that 100 chocolates. So you are at the fence and your friend is also at the fence. He's gonna pour all the 100 chocolates to your container. Irrespective, the container is argument or variable. Irrespective of that, your container will hold the data and you're gonna take it to the home. But your friend who is pouring that argument, who is pouring that container of jar with 100 chocolates, it should be an argument only, because that container has a permission to come till half the way. What I'm trying to say over here is, see, if I run this workflow as well, it's gonna work. Rather than if I use an argument to hold the data, it will work. If I use a variable, it will work. Let me show you that. Let me just initialization. Something is happening. See, the workflow has started and it's asking the name. Let me give that. See, Kantesh is an RPA developer. I'm getting. But what exactly is happening? See, first thing, the bot is from this workflow. Here, you want to push out some data means you don't have any other option. You cannot use variable. Why? Because variable will be restricted to till this point, not beyond it. So if you still want to push your data from this workflow to the another workflow, you have only one option, which is of an argument. By using an argument itself, you can push out the data. That's the reason we right now, we don't have any other option. We have to create an argument only, which we did. Next, in the arguments, we are invoking the workflow. This is the main workflow. So that argument is ready to give us some value. So it is ready to give us some value. So I have two options. One is, anyways, this is ready to give me a value. I can use any container. I can use a variable or I can use an argument. Why I'm saying that I can use variable also means, see, that variable, it is not exceeding, it is not moving out from this workflow to somewhere else. See, within this workflow itself, see, inside this container itself, I'm using that variable. So that means I can use to get the value from this argument, and to hold it over here, I can use the variable also. Not only the arguments, I can use the variable as well. Variables and arguments, both the things I can use to collect the data from other workflow to this. If I'm pushing data, see, pushing data means from this to something else. I'm pushing out from this to main. From this to main, I'm pushing out. Then I should use an argument. I don't have any other option. But here, the case is I'm taking the data within this container. Within this container, the data is flowing in and I'm taking the data. I can take the data in a variable or in an argument. Both the things suffice my need. That's the thing I just wanted to highlight. I can use a variable as well as the argument over here at the receiving end. Did you guys get that? Or do I need to explain again?
Yes, we get it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what all about an arguments, what I just wanted to highlight. And two things we have seen. One is variables and another one is arguments. So variables, it's of a container which can hold multiple data entries of a same data type. See, the bot is holding multiple values of a same data type. Same data type means string, integer, and all. See, each is holding multiple data entries. Right now, I have showed you an example for one data entry, which is of here. This is holding the word Kantesh or robot or UiPath. Still now we haven't seen multiple datas. Multiple datas means like Kantesh, UiPath, robot. All the three values in one itself, which we will see now, which we call that as an arrays, which we will talk about it. First, what we did, we just saw about the variables. We saw how it was working. We talked about the scope, and later we saw some drawbacks over here in the argument, in the variable as well. What was the drawback? It was not proceeding beyond this workflow. Beyond this, I was not able to use. Beyond this, I was not able to use that value. So that's the reason we came across something as an argument, whereas this argument will help us to push the data from one workflow to the other, which we did, and we have accomplished the task by following 4 simple rules. First rule is create a workflow to which you want to get the data. Second step is go back to the workflow and from where you want to get the data, create an argument. And the third step is make use of that argument in this workflow and save it. Fourth step is invoke that and use it. That's it. This is the 4 simple steps. So this is what all about an variables and arguments. Now let's talk about an arrays. Till now, what we were doing, we were storing a single value in a variables. Let me just create a new sequence. Till now, what we were doing, we were creating a variable often, and we were storing a single value. Right now, for now, I would say as array, let me create one variable and let me start storing multiple values. Let me type in and let me explain. RPA always the right choice. See here, till now what we were doing, we were storing a single value. Excuse me. See, string is of a single value what we were storing and we were accessing till now. Now let's see how we can store multiple data entries, multiple value in one variable. I have created a variable and I want to choose the variable type. See, string means it can hold a single value, only one value. If I want to store multiple value means I need to select array of, excuse me, array of string. See, array of string. You can see the symbol, a normal string, and this is array string. See, this is of a variable type string, and this is of a variable type string of an array. This variable hold multiple values. This hold single value. That's the how you change the data type. Right now, I have changed it to a string of an array. That means multiple string values. So that's the reason what I did. Let me copy this. Let me open up a notepad. See, this is the way how I give multiple values. Since I have given a string, see, RPA, double quotes, RPA, in the double quotes, always, in the double quotes, in the double quotes, right? See, each word is separated by comma. See here, each word is separated by comma. And it is enclosed in flower brackets. It is enclosed in flower brackets. So this is the way how you store that data in a multiple datas in a single variable, which is of an array variable, string array type, which is in the flower brackets. Since it's open string, that's the reason we are giving in a double quotes. It is separated by a comma and it is enclosed in flower brackets. So that's the same value what I have given over here, multiple values. Now, let's try to access it. Let's try to print that in the output panel. Rather than output, let's use the message box. It's super simple. So previously and all, what we were doing, we were just directly writing the if we want to print the name, we were just typing as string name. Similarly, let's print as array path. See, I don't have any issues. Let me run this. Oh, it's typing something as system.string. But where is my value? See, it is typing this. See, system.string in the bracket. That means it is typing the variable type, but not the value. Why? Why? Because this is often collection data, right? Multiple data, right? As soon as you give array var, the bot doesn't understand which value you want in this. whether you want all or you want only single. So the bot didn't understand, so it just typed as string of an array. That's it. Now, if this is the case, then how can we access the data? Let me show you. Let me just in UiPath, if you want to get the data from the collection, means you want to call it by its index. Index means each has its own position. So if you call by its position, you're going to get the data. So let me say as array var of 1. See the brackets. I have opened up the brackets and I have given as 1 inside that. If I run it, see, I'm getting always. But I thought I will get as RPA. Why I'm getting always? Because in UiPath, as I said, each has its own index, right? We have assumed 1 is for RPA, 2 is for always, 3 is for the, 4 is for this, and 5 is for choice. Now, when we give 1, we were getting this value. That means UiPath index will start from index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the index. In UiPath, the index always starts from 0. So that's the reason when you give array var of 1, you're getting always. If you want RPA, just give 0 then. Okay, let me try that as well. 0 and run. Sometimes since I'm running in a deep beta version, so that's the reason I'm facing a bit difficulty. This version of Studio is not yet stable, so that's the reason you are seeing some loading issue, running issue, things and all. See here, you got RPA, which is the first value. Similarly, if you want another value, then we should give, okay, what value shall I take? I will take choice. Let me give as 4. If I run this, see, choice, I got it. Now, okay, we understood about we're getting all the things at once. If I want all the values, then what is the option? If that's the case, then just give as let me type this array of 0, array of 1, array of 2, 3, followed by 4. So 4 is the thing, right? What we had. See, yes, 4. Now if I run this, see, I got the output RPA, always the right choice. See, this is the way how you can access the data, access the complete data from the collection. You can concatenate, see, plus operator. If you remember, we already used it. By using a concatenation, you can concatenate and you can get it. So this is the way how you can get the data. Now, suppose if I want to add some more data to it, for example, UiPath, if I want to add, let me just drag an assign activity. So here everything is open index, right? So let me see as array var, what was my last index? 4. Now I would say as array var of 5 is equal to UiPath. Let me give in this way. See, I don't have issue. So let me also print that array var of 5 in the output panel. Array var of 5. It's good. Now if I run this workflow, see, it's throwing an error. It says that index was outside the bound of an array. What is that? This is the drawback what we have under array. See, once the size of this array is fixed before running, see here, if I hit step in, see, array var, what's the size? String of 5. See, string of 5, it is fixed. It cannot be changed. If I try to add or if I try to remove some index from this array, from this string collection of data, I cannot do it. This is the drawback what we have. Array is of a fixed size. It cannot be changed. Let me repeat it. Array is of a fixed size. It cannot be changed. You cannot add or you cannot remove. This is the drawback what we have under array. So adding and removing thing, it is not possible in the array. So this thing is ruled out. Let me remove that answer. Okay, adding and removing is gone. Next, can I modify the data? Let me see that. Let me drag and again assign. So I would say as array var of 0. Let me try to replace with UiPath. Let me run this. See, I got it. I got an output. That means the bot has modified the data. I have the output as RPA, always the right choice. But array var of 0, I have given as UiPath. So it has modified the data with RPA replaced with UiPath. So that's the reason I'm getting this RPA, always the right choice. That means I can modify the data in an array. But adding and removing is not possible. This is the drawback what we have. So this is what all about an array, what I just wanted to highlight. Any questions over here on the arrays?
No questions right now.
Yeah. So this is of an data type, what I just have showcased you guys. It's of an array, another data type, which we're going to be using as we move on with the scopes. And guys, while explaining some topics here and there, I will just leave some of the minor things about the topic. Why? Because at the end of the topic, I want you guys to highlight that as a question for me, so that this session will be interactive, even you and me. So that's the reason I just leave some of the things here and there. I recommend you please follow it and ask me then and there. If you're not asking, then again, at the end, I'm going to be explaining the topics. So in the arrays, what I have just left out is, you would have asked me a question like stating that, see here, right now, I'm giving 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that way. But right now, we have very short, around 3, 4, 5 index. So we have given it. In the future, in the business case, we can have around 10, we can have around 50, we can have around 100, we can have around 1000 as well. In that case, do I need to every time keep on giving a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until 1000? That doesn't make any sense. It will take your lifetime to enter that big expression. So is there any workaround? Yes, obviously we have a workaround. Let me show you that. For that, let me take a message box. And here, let me type one small expression like stating that string dot concat, in the brackets, let me give an array var variable. See, string dot concat array var. If you remember, previously I said when we are doing a plus operator, we were saying as concatenation, concat. So rather than using a plus operator, what I'm doing, I'm using an expression. See, this is open VB expression. Since this platform is completely built on VB, so that's the reason I'm using some of these expressions over here, which will work. String dot concat array var. Now let's see what will be the output. See, this is the first message box output. UiPath, always the right choice. Again, this is the second message box output. Here, by using a plus operator, we did. See, both are one and the same. Here, you are specifying each one by using a plus operator, you're concatenating. But here, with just a simple expression string.concat, we are getting. Both the things are the same, but here you are specifying with a plus operator, here with a simple expression. Regarding these expressions, I have a dedicated session, data manipulations. There we're going to see in detail about it, string.concat. So this is the easiest way how you can give that large amount of data in just one go. In this way, you can easily access it. Yeah, this is what all about thing I just wanted to highlight. And let me quickly show you the other thing. If you would have observed in this notepad, see, after always, see, in the double quotes, I'm giving the, right? I have a space, see, space, and the, after, before right, space, before choice, space. If I remove the spaces, what happens? If I run this workflow, see, look at the output, how it is. This is the first message box output. UiPath, always the right choice. See, it is very much clumsy. What it is doing, it is just joining everything. It is just clubbing everything and is giving you an output. String.concat. Okay, let me see the plus thing. Even the plus operator is the same. It's also doing the same way. It is just clubbing everything and it is giving me. If I want a space after each word join, after each word clubbing, then do I have any use case? Yeah, do I have any other options? Or I don't have anything. Yes, we have an option for that as well. Here also we come up with one small expression. What's that expression? See here, string dot join in the bracket, in the double quotes, I would give as rather than space, let me give as 5 to showcase you guys, comma, array var. See here, what does it do is string.join. This is the same as concatenation, but in this expression, I get some additional option. I can specify the delimiter. We call this place as the delimiter. Before joining the next word, what this value will be appended. Let me run and show you. See, this is the first message box. This is the expression output. See, after always, I have a number 5, the, and after the space 5, right, 5 choice. So apart from 5, I can give a space. If I give a space, see, if I give space, I'll have a space at all the places. See, this is the clumsy word, string.concat, the place word, even that is the same. Rather than 5, now let me hit replace with space. Let me run this. You can see the output, how it will be. See, as expected, UiPath, always the right choice with a space separator. It's often another easiest way to give an delimiter between the spaces to give an output. So this is string.join and this is string.concat. And this is the message box. These are the 3 ways how you can deal with the collection data. See, right now we are discussing about the collection data, multiple data entries of a same data type. Always remember, even though we are dealing with multiple data, but the data type is the same, string. String is my data type. So this is what the thing I just wanted to highlight about the arrays. Any questions, guys, for me on the
No,
variable or arguments?
but I'll watch again whole video, and then after I'll have a question. Then I'll ask you again in next
Yes,
session.
yes, yes, sure, sure. Like as I said, right? So right now you're just looking the behavior what I'm explaining. But again, when you watch this video and parallelly do it in your workflow, you will come up with so many things. So that's the reason I'm asking you guys to work on this a video and build it, and also build that assignments so that you'll get a stronger on the topic and you will come up with so many questions. So please do that.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Now, today we have talked about the variables, arguments, and the arrays. Tomorrow we will be talking about the control flow. So that is the control flow which we have in next topic, which we will talk about it. And after that, we will have some quiz questions. And after completion of this control flow, I will just give you an assignments list. In the meantime, if you want to practice one small assignments, then I would recommend you guys to please take a note of this. If possible, please take a snapshot of this question. I will explain this question, but before that, take a snapshot of this. I believe you might have took the snapshot. It can be from your phone or anything, or else anyone can take the snapshot from this and put it in the group as well. Even that works. Now, the question is, you want to create a 4 variables with a type generic value. See, you want to create 4 variables with a type generic value. Here, let me create one variable with a type browse. Here, I don't see a generic type. Browse for the type as generic value. Type as completely as the same generic value. See here, first value. See, this is the one UiPath.core generic value. Hit OK. Now you have a generic value. So let's assume this is of an A. I have asked you to create 4 variables A, B, C, D and store this value. In A, in the double quotes, you have to give 1, 2, 3. In B, in the double quotes, you have to give 4, 5, 6. In C, without double quotes, write 1, 2, 3. And D, with the value, just give 4, 5, 6 without double quotes. And next, use a message box activity. And in that, give A plus B and another message box, C plus D, and another message box, A plus C, and another message box, C plus A. Rather than message box, use a write line because you can see the result in output panel all at once. So use a write line activity only, not message box. And I want you guys to configure in this way and see the output. After seeing the output, understand what does this generic value data type is doing. In my next class, tomorrow when we catch up, our first discussion will be on this generic value. Now I will be hovering out to you. You're going to be talking about this data type based on your findings, based on the output result. You'll be stating how this generic value is working. And post that, I will explain my input and we will proceed further. Did you guys get this? How to build it?
Yes.
Yes. So create a 4 variables with these values and use a write line activity. Each one write line, one write line, one write line, totally 4 write lines again. 4 assign activity, 4 write lines, and monitor and output and share your inputs in tomorrow's session. We'll catch up tomorrow then. If you don't have any questions. If you have questions, then I would be happy to take it. No questions for me?
No.
Okay.
No.
Great then. So yes, guys, then we'll catch up tomorrow. And before joining tomorrow's, just explore this and let's talk in detail about in tomorrow's session.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys, thank you for your time. Have a great. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.